So you left,
Yokohama.
So you left Yokohama, and then how long was it until you got to wherever you went, or got off out of Korea?
I think it was an overnight trip to Incheon.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not that far to Korea from Japan.
Yeah. Had you made any friends by this point?
You make a friend, and the next thing you know, there's somebody you don't see them anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's
that
true.
happens in travel like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I didn't have any really good friends until after I got in the 50th Port Construction Company at Busan.
Didn't you get close to some of the Koreans though?
Oh, I got very close to some of the Koreans, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah. Could you talk about your friend?
Taejina was one of them down in Busan. He was a real nice fellow. And we had a lot of fun with him. He was an older man, but he worked for the company, and we had a lot of fun with him. And then later on, after we shipped up to Incheon, after the armistice was signed, I got well acquainted with Kim Kisoon. And he was 18 years old. In Korea, when they're born, they're a year old.
Oh, okay. Oh, so they skip us some time there. So then, were these native Koreans, were they translators, or?
Well, they could be whatever. See, over there, not only do they learn their own language of Korean, but they also had to learn English. They could speak English as good as you and I can.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Did work in the office?
Oh, yeah. We had a girl that worked in our office, and we had several working in our company. The only word I can remember real well is Anya Hashimika.
Anya Hashimika?
Anya Hashimika. Hello, how are you?
You remembered something though. That's good. I'm like, I'll forget as soon as I walk out the door.
And Cutter was another one. Get out of here.
How are you? Get out.
The ones in the office, did they type and do things like that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did you find that you kind of ran around with like a little crew with these Korean, or were you friends more with the Korean natives, or did you find friends
Mostly
among the
it
army?
was one or two, and that was it. Kim took Maine.
Yeah.
Dow and I out for a walk one day to see things. And he got chewed out by a Korean woman in Korean.
For what?
She thought he was being a pimp.
Oh no.
They had quite a conference in Korean. And she finally left.
Well, good to see she's looking out for you, you know?
Yeah.
So that was the first you had met Dow, right?
It was early on, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, did you see him every day?
Oh, we were together.
You were what?
We were together a lot of the time. We were in the same company.
Yeah.
You
What
know.
would you think would be, I don't necessarily want to say the worst, because I know that, like, you know, being in a war zone can be awful, but maybe the most difficult or the worst, you know, of all your experiences there.
Be away from me.
Most besides that one. If you're okay talking about that.
Well, I was close enough a couple of times to hear guns a-booming. Went up to see my brother-in-law, Albert Walton, who lives in Peoria, Illinois, married to her sister next to her, one that died 4 years ago. And he was up on the front lines.
Oh, wow.
And he would never talk about it.
Yeah, I bet not. I mean, it's nasty. Which again, like, you know, if you're not comfortable with anything,
No.
you know, you don't have to. But I am.
I was never on the front lines. I was close to it a couple of times, but that was it.
That's nasty stuff.
But, we were just south of Kimpo Air Base. That was the big air base where our flyers went out of to meet the MiGs up on the Yalu River. And I was in Seoul a couple of times. That was the capital of both Koreas at one point before it was split.
Right.
And the one thing I remember most about Seoul was the chained up palace. They had one time it was king and queen there, and they had these huge fish ponds, concrete fish ponds. Them things were long. They must have been as long as this house is.
No
Wow.
kidding.
And they had some koi in there that was like that.
Really? Wow. There's
They
some
were
big ones in
old.
there.
Now the palace, did you go in the palace?
I think we did, if I remember correctly. It's been long enough ago.
Was it beautiful on the outside?
Yeah. Inside too, as I remember.
So you said the king and queen lived there at one
At
time.
one time, you know.
So
I
who
don't
was
know.
who was in power at that time when you were there? What kind of government did they have?
Sigmund Rhee. And
Was
he
he-
was elected.
Okay. So democratic.
Mm-hmm.
So
It still is.
how recently was it then that like that Korea was governed by a monarchy? Like when did that change?
I'm not really sure about
Oh,
that.
okay. So this I'm sorry, what was his name again?
Sigmund Rhee.
He was not installed by a Western power then.
No.
Okay, all right.
No, he was elected by his own people.
That was cool. Good. Okay. So then,
Where
can
did
you,
he live?
I don't know.
so can you do you have any I don't know, like your maybe your most favorite moment, or maybe even most memorable, or your best moment?
Coming home.
One of the things I remember real well was the tide there at Incheon. When the tide was out, you had 5 miles of mud flats.
Really? Wow.
Rowboat was stranded. When the tide was in, you could float the biggest battleship that existed.
Holy cats. Wow.
33 feet, 1 inch of water.
How many feet?
33 feet an inch.
That's quite a tide. Yikes.
High tide was 33 feet 3 inches, and mean low tide was 33 feet 1 inch, depending upon the phase of the moon.
Right.
And I did some studying on that to figure out, well, where's all that water going? Couldn't figure out, you know, it makes you wonder, is it shift from one side of the ocean, or where's it going?
Yeah.
Well, the moon pulls it up out in the ocean and lets it back down.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
The highest tide in the world's up here in the Bay of Fundy in Canada,
Really?
42 and 48 feet.
Wow. Wow.
Now the Koreans in Incheon had a gate that they would open and let the water run in 2 or 3 inches deep. Close the gate and leave it closed and let the water evaporate. Then they'd go out, and that's how they got their salt.
Oh, perfect.
No kidding.
I suppose that's really the best way to do it. I mean, it's all natural.
Sea salt.
Wow.
Which is supposed to be better for you than regular salt. So it would be on the sand.
Whatever it was, I don't know what was on the bottom of it. I never saw it.
It was like a little canal or something that they would let the water into. I see.
And then, of course, we had a tidal basin there at Incheon that they would close the gates, and the ships would stay in there and unload their cargo, and they'd have to stay there until the tide came back in before they could leave.
Yeah.
And I got the job of hauling diesel fuel out to a floating dredge. They were trying to deepen the canal that was out there. There was a narrow canal so that ships could come and go during high and low tide.
Oh, wow.
Whether they ever got it done or not, I don't know.
So you used a truck to take it out?
Yeah, there was about 5 trucks we had.
How did they pick you?
I don't know why they picked me. I just know they did.
You were voluntold.
Yeah, I was volunteered for the job.
You probably want to tell her too about being a courier, taking messages.
Oh.
Oh, when I was in Pusan, yeah, I was a courier. I'd go up, we had a detachment in Incheon, Maine company was in Kisoon. And about 3 or 4 times I took messages up to the lieutenant that was in command in Incheon. Well, that never happened after we moved north. But
Now, did you take a truck or to go?
No, rode the train overnight.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And then you said it was kind of scary when you got out of the train?
Well, get out at night.
Yeah.
Supposed to have been a courier there to pick me up. He didn't show.
Nobody came? Oh.
So I walked around a little bit, walked down a few side streets. People were running around there, but I couldn't see them because it was dark. I could hear a 1-string instrument being played someplace in the building there. Finally I went back, and finally they showed up and picked me up.
That could have been very dangerous. Yeah. And I was thinking, you heard music, you told me? You heard a lot of music being played?
1-string instruments.
Just one instrument?
I wonder if it was like what's the name of that instrument? An
Mandolin?
eru? Or if it's like a version of that. But that, an eru has like 2 strings, and I think it's Chinese in origin.
Okay.
But maybe it was related to that in some way. They can make some crazy sounds with those instruments. And they have a surprising range on them, like from low to high note, low to high notes.
Yeah.
So it would be just an overnight trip.
Yeah. Yeah, you got on the train and went up overnight and up there. I think I did, I don't remember, I did it twice or 3 times now.
So you slept in the train.
Yeah.
Was there any part, I mean, from your arrival in Korea, especially like when you first arrived, a sense of culture shock?
Oh, you better. You better believe it.
What was like, I mean, I imagine when you first arrive, especially in that kind of situation, it's pretty overwhelming. Like, it's like, oh man, now what, But when it started to kind of set in that you were actually, in this whole other country with a different writing system and everything is like the uncanny valley.
Yeah, it's quite a culture shock. It really is, because when women were walking down the street and they had a baby in their arm, they'd stop and feed their baby. They'd just flip their dress up and
Oh,
out
wow.
in public and nurse them.
Yeah.
And they'd also stop in the ditch along the road and take a dump.
Wow.
Whatever they needed to do. At that time, I don't mind they do that now, but and their dresses, instead of being like the ones are around here, they're real high-waisted.
Yeah.
The belt line was almost up here under the breast.
Oh, wow. I've seen some of that, like, that seems to be, well, at least from what I understand, it seems to be more prevalent in that part of the world. I mean, in Japan, of course, they have the kimono and the very wide belts that, definitely go from, like, basically spans the whole rib cage. And then in the Philippines, there's another style of dress that my Uncle Keith actually showed me, because all of his wives were Filipino. But one of them in particular had brought over this very traditional dress that she had, and it was that kind of thing where it belted right underneath the chest at the top of the rib cage. I guess because they're, or at least from what I've heard, is because they're so much smaller. They don't have like the curves that I think are associated with European bloodlines.
They're very thin, aren't they? Very thin women.
The Koreans were.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the Filipinos.
I was talking about Korean.
Oh, yeah.
Just in general in that part of the world. I mean, from what I've heard.
All of their heating was under the floor. Their homes were about the size of our family room.
Oh, wow.
And they had a dugout under the floor, and that's where they heated their homes.
It's not bad. Heated floors. I can go for that.
What did they use?
Nice warm floor. Wood.
Oh, really?
So the wood was put underneath, or what would stop it from catching the house on fire?
There was earth in between.
Earth. Oh, okay.